Good morning and welcome everyone. I am just going to get my guests up on stage. There's quite a few people here, so I'll just have to look through the list. Cool, there we go. Awesome. Cool, perfect. Good morning and welcome everyone. My name's Stacey. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator here at Relab. On the stage with me, we've got Lou, our CMO at Relab, and we've got Sim from Girls That Invest. Now, just a few admin things just to start off. We'll try to keep this chat to about 45 minutes and we'll try to answer questions in that time as well. So put them in the chat box on the side and we'll go through as they're relevant or at the end. We've also got Vienna from our team here at Relab in the chat, just checking for anything. If you've got any problems with the sound or anything, just let her know. She'll try to help you out as best as we can. You will also receive a recording of the session later on, so if there's any issues, you can go back and watch it. Cool. So now, if you aren't familiar with Girls That Invest, Sim and her co-founder Sonya started Girls That Invest in 2020 and have since become one of the world's largest investing education podcasts and have been featured in Vogue recently, which is amazing. And also, since there's quite a few people on here at the moment, and I'm not too sure if everyone's familiar with Relab, but if you're not, Relab is a property platform that allows property professionals, buyers and sellers to have real-time access to property data and insights. And we're all about making sure everyone can make good data decisions and save time and resources by doing so. And one more thing before we start the chat off, we just need to make a quick disclaimer. Don't take anything here we say as financial advice. Please get advice from a professional before you make any decisions. And this chat is purely based on individual experiences, so just keep that in mind. Cool. So first off, the question for both of you, I guess, can you give us a brief summary of your investing journey to where you are now, and if you are currently investing in property or cryptocurrencies?
I'm happy to go first if you'd like.
Yeah, perfect.
So my name is Simran. I run Girls That Invest, and in terms of my journey, as you can tell, I'm sort of near the earlier side of it all. And I kind of started with cryptocurrency and investing a couple of years ago. I didn't used to take it so seriously back then because I didn't understand it and I didn't know what was going on. And it did feel like a lot of guesswork, a lot of, putting money in, kind of crossing your fingers and hoping it does well. And since then, I've had a lot of time to learn. I've taken some courses and I've realized that just like property, cryptocurrency is something that you can have strategies with. And so I invest primarily in more of the long-standing cryptocurrencies that I believe in. There's usually kind of two schools of thought. Some people go for like the Dogecoin and, the things on the news, and some people go for things that they hope will grow, long term. And then in terms of property, I also bought my first property last year. So I bought my home when I was 24 and I've just been renovating it up, and I'm looking for my next one soon. So that's quite fun.
Oh, that's awesome, Sim. So I'm slightly further down the generational scale, obviously. And my crypto journey is a pretty interesting one. I actually met the co-founder and CEO of Relab when we were both working at a cryptocurrency company called Brave New Coin a few years back. And I had an interest in crypto already at that point, but working with this company and seeing the amazing things that I did, and we worked closely with a content division as well, which put out some really amazing content around cryptocurrency, really piqued my interest a little bit more. So I've been investing in crypto for probably a couple of years now. Started with, again, like Sim, with just the basics. Have recently been looking at NFTs, which we can talk about a little bit later if we get time. And that's the fun stuff like Fluff World and Crypto Kitties and things like that. So a little bit out of scope of that conversation today, but that's super fun. And, you know, I tend to invest in the top tier, so Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the Ethereum network for me means I can do real world utility. And in terms of investing, so I got laid off a couple of years ago, and the particular company was a tech company, and these things happen, and a lot of us got laid off as things changed. And at that point, I sort of thought, oh, do I really want to go back to the corporate world? And I started a blog, which is still running now. And I talk a lot about quitting your 9 to 5 or passive income, different ways to invest, different ways to get a side hustle and make money for yourself, but also about marketing. And at that point, I sort of thought, well, what else could I do? And so I spoke with my family, and me and my husband said, oh, yeah, good idea. Let's get some property. We're down here in Dunedin, so a little bit different to Auckland, although we did have 10 years up in Auckland. But we own our own home here, and the property market a few years ago here in Dunedin was pretty buoyant, but you could see that things were starting to take off. So we thought, well, let's get in now. And, you know, we literally made our list of our priorities for an investment property, went out for probably 3 or 4 weeks, looked at some open homes, and put a very aggressive offer in on one that fit all of those bills, and we got it. So we currently have one property quite close to where we live here now, and it's been pretty smooth sailing, I've got to say. So both my crypto and my property investing journey so far has been, touch wood, pretty smooth sailing. But always learning, and always keen to have these conversations to get a little bit more education and ammo under my belt to do it better.
Awesome. And I guess you've kind of covered this a little bit, but where does your interest lie more, in either property or crypto? And what sort of pros and cons have you taken into consideration for both?
I think for myself, when I started investing, obviously when you're a little bit younger, you don't have access to a large sum of money, unless you've had help from like family and friends, which I didn't. So I first initially started with cryptocurrency and with the stock market, because the barrier to entry compared to real estate is a lot easier. You know, you just need an internet connection and your wallet. And so initially, I would say it sort of went that way, but now that I do have access to a little bit more money, I've been working longer, I've got my business, the podcast and such, it's starting now to move away from that to long-term real estate.
Yeah, I see that mindset's definitely a lot going on a lot with my friends, and that like since things are changing so much, where some people are thinking maybe I can't get into property at all, so they're shifting a bit towards the crypto. But yeah, as soon as you get that, like, a little bit of a stepping stone into property, then it opens up a lot of different opportunities. So I see that, yeah, kind of in that phase myself at the moment.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Stacey. And for me with crypto, I talked to a lot of friends over the Christmas break about crypto, because everyone's always like mega interested in hearing your strategy and what you do, and new opportunities for investing. And quite a few of them had bit of hay fever. Quite a few of them have now got Sharesies portfolios, which is really cool. And they were showing me the changes and the gains that they've been making and the different companies that they've been investing in. And when I've talked to them about crypto, they've been like super keen. I've been careful to say crypto is incredibly high risk. I would put it higher than shares. And I would put it just slightly below angel investing, which is something I also do. So, in terms of my overall investment portfolio, I have some very high risk through to the lower risk. And right now for me, property seems slightly lower risk, although you do need to have that capital injection to start with. But that can change on a dime. I mean, I personally went through the GFC. We went to put our house in Auckland on the market on the Wednesday. GFC hit in 2008 on the Monday. So nobody turned up to the auction. And, that's not heard of now in Auckland. You don't get an auction. And this was in a really great suburb in Auckland as well. It wasn't off in the boonies. So, things do change. And for me, it's about diversification of risk, and it's about diversification of interest as well. I mean, something's got to keep my interest. I've got to, being landlords, we have priorities. I have a full-time job, obviously, and I do run my blog on the side, but that's pretty much just takes care of itself. Every sort of holidays or whatever, I might drop in and do something in there, but I've set that up to be passive income, so it's a set and forget. So I love that, and I get affiliate income off that, but then I get to play in the crypto world as well. So I have apps on my phone, so super easy to use. And I have it set up so that I can see at a glance, and anything like Binance or Coinbase, you can see the ups and downs really easily, literally in real time. You can see when it's red and you can see when it's green. And I can see if Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of my other 6 altcoins are doing anything crazy. And when my main coins dip majorly, I will buy. I see red as a great big sign that says buy me. And I know that my strategy for crypto is hold. I'm not in there trading, so I'm not in there trying to keep making a buck every day and buying and selling and trading Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of my other coins. I'm in there to buy when it's on sale, and just to literally hold it. And that's a long-term strategy for me. In terms of the property investment, there's a few new regulations that have come in, which we've talked about before, Stacey, on some other webinars. In particular, medium density rules are just changing, but the bright line test and the interest deductibility, all of those things have also factored into my decisions around diversification and what we'll do next in terms of investments. We're not flippers in terms of property. We are holders, so the bright line test doesn't really affect us, to be honest. But in future, we probably, if we are going to buy some more investment property, we'll probably look at new builds. Bright line's lower on new builds. Interest deductibility is still currently on new builds, I think. That might have changed in the last 24 hours. So, as legislation changes, but that goes for crypto as well as property, as legislation changes and as education expands, then, those strategies do change.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I cut out for a second. Sorry, did I?
Nope, you're back.
Okay. I thought something weird happened then. Sorry. What sort of misconceptions do you see with crypto in particular? I guess even in investing in general, if you want to go down that alley as well.
Would you like me to go first? I'm happy just to kick that one off. Mm-hmm. I think with cryptocurrencies, with investing in general, kind of what I touched on earlier, one of the biggest misconceptions that we come across. And yes, by all means, it is very risky, and on the scale of risk, it is, on the higher side, along with NFTs, compared to something like funds and shares and bonds that are on the other side. I think the biggest misconception, though, is that there is no strategy around it, and it is kind of like, you're gambling, or you're just trying to hope things will do well. And with these kind of things, it's really important to have resources where you can look into them, whether that be through books or webinars like this, or, some people might go and seek financial advice as well. But there are ways to invest in these things that align with your goals, align with your values, align with your risk tolerance, and kind of aid in your overall, whatever you're trying to achieve, whether that be setting yourself up for a nice nest egg at retirement, or whether it be saving up for your next home in, like 5 years' time. So the biggest misconception would just be that you don't just look at something and go, that sounds like a cool thing, and then just chuck money in. The most successful investors are ones that have strategies in place.
My son actually started in crypto not too long after I did, and he's at university, and he, being a little bit more impulsive, being, basically a really young guy, he made some gains really quick, and he actually did the high risk. He did some of the crypto gambling, but he made some significant gains pretty early on, and then pulled it all out. So, I mean, that's not a strategy as such, but it goes to your point that there's many ways to skin a cat. And if you're 18 and you just want to get in there and have a play and test the waters and see what it's all about, you can do that. It's not too hard to put your money in, and it's not too hard to take it out again. And like I said, there are some things you can do with the crypto gambling, but I do not endorse that whatsoever. So he did that, but what he also did was they started their own coin, and it's actually doing really well. It's got about 2 million in liquidity now, and it's called Shungite. And there's a internet meme around Shungite, so you just go look it up. It's quite funny. But so he is doing things in terms of a bit more of a learn as I go, and a bit more let's try stuff out and all that sort of thing. Again, I don't endorse that, but I think it's super cool if you're really young and you want to have a go and you want to see what it's all about. But then it comes to your generation and my generation, which I think we're millennials and X's, aren't we, or something like that. And we're looking to our future. And for me in particular, I'm looking for future retirement and stability for my family. I've got 3 kids, and you guys, property ladder. We've all got slightly different goals at the end of it. So there are many ways to sort of look at your investment portfolio and look at risk and reward, and how long you want to wait for that reward. For me, I'm happy just holding both crypto and property. For you guys, for instance, Stacey, you want to buy your own home soon. It might be a short-term strategy that you might look to make those gains in crypto and then pull them out and put them into something like property investing. But it really is all about setting a strategy and being faithful to your strategy.
Yeah, I found where I've gone a bit tricky is just not starting as well. Like sometimes I put too much into planning and thinking, and then things change, and then I have to rethink everything again. But yeah, sometimes with me, I think I need to go into just get started and then actually get stuck into it rather than waiting too much. But
yeah, I mean, you can get analysis paralysis. And Sim, you probably talk a lot about that sort of thing in your other podcasts. Laura's asked a question here about sharing actual strategies. For me, Laura, it's my strategy is hold, but my strategy is also I buy the top two. I buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, which have the biggest market cap. Bitcoin's way higher than Ethereum. Ethereum's about 20%, is it, Sim? Bitcoin's probably about 40 or something like that. But just because I know that those two have real world utility. Now, Bitcoin holds value, whereas Ethereum, the Ethereum network, holds a lot of utility, which means you can use it in real life situations. In fact, there was a house in Waiheke that was currently for sale for Ethereum. So utility just means what you can actually use it for. Then you've got your altcoins, which like Dogecoin, for instance, some mentioned before. Now, Doge is linked to Elon Musk. I do have some Doge, but like I'm not betting my house on Doge. It's down at around 21 cents. I don't think Doge will ever get over $1, but anyway, that's just my theory. Again, I don't take financial advice from me, but I have Doge because it's fun. Now, my strategy with Doge is I just want to own a little bit of Doge because it's fun. And then I have some altcoins, which I've done a bit of research about, and altcoins are just alternative coins to Bitcoin. And there's millions of them, but you really can do your own research. Some might have some advice on alts versus the stable ones, but my strategy is hold, and my strategy is I have a small amount of alts and I invest in the top two. And like I said, I invest when they're red. So when they drop, I put some money in and I hold.
It's really interesting that you say that because it's very similar for me as well. So it was a really good question, Laura. Basically, I follow what I like to call like the 90-10 rule or the 80-20 rule, which I also do for my stock investments as well. But basically, 90% of my entire portfolio, let's just say I've got $100 and $90 goes towards, the more stable coins, even though cryptocurrency isn't a very stable investment in itself. Ethereum, Bitcoin, that makes up majority of my portfolio. And then I give myself 10%. So if I had $100, $20 to go towards the more fun coins, and they're investments that I make that might not necessarily have proper research behind it, may I say, or they might not necessarily be good long-term investments. They're things like Dogecoin, things like, Shiba coin, things that are kind of what I'd like to call play money or fun money. And that therefore satisfies that kind of desire we all have to, try something and kind of hope it does well. But you don't want to bet your life savings on them. And so having that really helps me mitigate my risk, because while I would consider myself to be quite an aggressive investor, I also don't want to be, a dumb investor. And I think it wouldn't make sense for me to make all of my investments in those altcoins. And then another strategy I implement is what I call dollar cost averaging, which is quite popular in the stock market world as well. So rather than I don't like spending a lot of time doing things. I'm a little bit lazy. So rather than checking my investments and seeing when is it up and down, I just put in, X amount of dollars every month, the same time, the same amount of money just across my investments. And so when the market is up or when the market is down, I end up getting the average cost. And so that way I don't accidentally put in a lump sum, let's say, today, and then tomorrow the market crashes.
Cool.
A good point, Sim. So I'm slightly different to Sim, whereas I don't have a regular schedule where I do. I just literally watch and wait, and when it dips, that's when I do it. But yeah, a lot of advice around having a set day or a set time of the month or whatever, and a set amount that you put in. That's also a really good way to get started.
There's a couple of questions asking, can you share platforms for crypto investing here in New Zealand? And are there any websites for a crash course on crypto? Do either of you know?
Do we want to answer the questions at the end, Stacey, or do you want to go through more of your questions? What do you want to do?
I was just thinking, since we're on the topic of crypto now, I can do those couple of questions.
Sure. Sam, I'll let you answer those.
Oh, yeah, sure. So in terms of platforms for crypto, one of the most common ones that comes across is Easy Crypto. They're very easy to work with. They've got a good user interface. A lot of people get confused and assume that platforms like Sharesies and Hatch also have cryptocurrency. They don't. They're just stock market related. So that's, for your Facebook and your Apple stocks. You can't invest in crypto through them. The best wallet to start with, in all honesty, they're all quite good. There's not really one that comes to my mind that is better than any other one. If you quite literally Google, top 3 wallets, one of the 3 will do. In terms of where to look for research, so what I love about cryptocurrency is that Coinbase, for example, is one of the places that you can invest through. They're a large US company, so they're not New Zealand based, and they obviously have the incentive to get people into cryptocurrency. So they spend a lot of money to create lots of resources that are very visually appealing. And I don't know if it matters for a lot of people, but it matters for me when I'm doing research. I want it to look nice. And they explain it out quite well. They use visual examples. And what is a little bit about crypto wallets? So with cryptocurrencies, you can buy the coin. It's a bit like going, shopping. You can go buy the shirt, but you have to actually put it somewhere. You have to put it in your drawer. You can't just walk around holding it. So a crypto wallet is another application that you have to download, and that's your own personal wallet. So you can buy cryptos from any website, like you can buy shirts from any store, but they all get put in that same wardrobe that you own.
Yeah, good point. And when it comes to wallets too, we won't get too much into it, but you can take your crypto and you can literally take it offline completely and put it in a hard wallet, or you can keep it online. And so I like MetaMask for online, but predominantly because you can buy crypto kitties with it. But that's just a preference. And some of the platforms that I've looked at, which are not New Zealand based, but they are quite good for research. Again, Coinbase and Binance, both of those are quite good for getting lots of information, but also for trading if you want to trade on those as well. But Easy Crypto is a New Zealand one, which I've heard good things about.
Perfect. I've got one last question. So if anyone else has more questions, put them in the chat now, so we can go through them straight away. My last question is, in your own opinion, where do you think crypto and property are going to shift in the next few years or so?
Well, in terms of cryptocurrency, the market itself is supposedly looking to triple by 2030, so it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. However, I will say I do believe that last year was a very huge bull run, and it had a lot of hype and a lot of peak, and we got a lot of celebrities endorsing it. There were things like Kim Kardashian put a crypto ad on her Instagram account, and that's not really things that you see when the market is running at a normal level. And I don't imagine that kind of hype is sustainable and will continue. And so I do actually think it might start to cool down a little bit, but that's not a bad thing, because if you believe in what you're investing in and you genuinely think cryptocurrency is here to stay, and you believe in the technology behind things like Ethereum and all of that, and in that case, things cooling down, like was mentioned before, is not always a bad thing. It can sometimes be seen as a sale day, and it can be seen as getting what you want for cheaper if you believe that in the long term it will start to do well again. I do think that there's been a lot of talk about how cryptocurrency and the systems that it uses can then start to go into what's called essentially decentralized finances. And what that means is some people believe that this technology, based off the way blockchains work and based off the way cryptocurrencies work, can somehow also act like a decentralized banking system. And so it's already somewhat happening. So some people are able to get loans and have like savings account and get interest rates interest on their savings. And right now, I don't see myself using cryptocurrency for my mortgage, but it's not something I want to completely shun. And I think it would be wise to just, keep your eyes open, keep your mind open. I don't think anyone's going to move their entire banking from something like ANZ to a cryptocurrency next year, but, you never know in the future.
When it was $250. Damn. So, I don't know whether they've held or whether they, they got to a certain amount and thought, woohoo, let's tap out of this. I hope that they held. But I mean, it's like anything. My husband is in finance, and he says whenever the chief economist or anyone talks about the property industry or anything financial for that fact, that you can say there's going to be a dip, or you can say there's going to be a growth, and 50% of the time you're going to be right. So at some point you are going to be right, because that's the nature of markets, and they do cycle. So I mean, my advice, and again, not financial advice, just my own experience, is you've got to go into it like you do with anything, like share market investing or angel investing. Investing in property, investing in crypto is no different. You have to go into it being prepared to lose and to risk, hoping and using a informed and research strategy that you're doing best practice for yourself and for your goals, that you will get a gain. And the share market, we're all incredibly familiar with that. I even remember as a child my parents talking about share markets, and that's a long time ago now. So that sort of rhetoric and those sort of conversations have been around for a long time. So we're comfortable with that. I think property investing not as long, and then cryptocurrency certainly not as long as that. But I think as long as you're well researched, as long as you keep talking to your friends and your colleagues and people, like Sim, and listen to Sim's amazing podcast, that you do pick up things, and you just have to go with what you're comfortable with and what you can afford. If you're putting in, say, $50 a month, and with some strategy of the sort of 90-10 rule of 90% goes to your sort of more base ones, then it's a fun way to get yourself started into something, and B, $50 a month for most of us who are working full time is affordable. If that's not affordable for you, cryptocurrency probably isn't the right place for you to be looking to invest, because you can lose. Like, you can lose big really fast too. Same with the share market though. You can lose really big there. Same with the property market. 2008 GFC, boom, crashed completely. But then it came back again, and it came back even stronger. So yeah, my advice is set your strategy. The same thing with life. Make your plans, do your vision board, set your strategy. Planning, researching goes a long way. But yeah, Coinbase is great. Binance is great. Go and have a look at that. Definitely subscribe to Sim's podcast. She's got some amazing tips on her podcast about investing in general. And talk to your friends about it. Cryptocurrency doesn't have to necessarily be a serious investment. Like Sim says, if you just want to put $10 into Doge every month, go for it. You're probably not going to get your money back on Doge, just saying. But I mean, if that's what you want to do, you do that. And like I mentioned, my son had a play, had a tipple. He got some cash through his coin that they established, and then he had a play, and then he pulled it all out, and that went on rent money. So what works for you, it is what you should do. I'm just looking at some questions there. Stacey, did you want to read out some questions, or have you got some more questions for Sim? Or Sim, have you got anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah.
No, I think you explained it all really well, and I think everyone starts from zero, whether that be about property, whether that be about crypto. Someone listening here might be really good at property investing, but crypto sounds really scary. And I would encourage you to kind of take yourself back to that time when you were starting and everything was new and you didn't know what these terms meant. It's the exact same with crypto. At the beginning, we're all beginners at the beginning. We all don't know much and it's very scary and we get analysis paralysis. That's such a common thing that happens. But I would advise anyone that wants to learn more to kind of go into it with the same mindset of everyone who's a famous, well-established crypto investor was once also someone that asked questions like, what is a blockchain? What is Ethereum? Like, how do I do this? And so if you are interested, just going in with an open mind, kind of letting yourself be a sponge. There's so many free, great resources out there. Obviously, make sure they're legitimate resources, but, if you really want to get into it, the sky's the limit. There's no better time to learn about a new topic than now with so many free ways to do it. And if you do get analysis paralysis and if you do want financial advice, that's what advice is for. And I did see actually a question for those that are scared to make the first step. What would you recommend spending, a bit of money to get an advisor? I'd say yes. I'd also be worried some of them may have personal views on crypto that, some of them might say don't even bother. And that's fine. It just means you need to find an advisor that works for you.
That's great advice. Just for a little bit of fun, I'm going to put a poll up to see what do you prefer to invest in for the audience. So I'll put that up there. That should show up. And I'll go through the questions now.
That's super interesting. Prefer versus, should. It's kind of like eating your vegetables and doing exercise, isn't it? I mean, cryptocurrency is super fun, and I tried to buy a crypto kitty last week and I kept running out of gas. And so gas, for those that don't know the crypto terms, is you pay a bit of a fee when you buy and sell crypto, and it's gas. And because the crypto kitty that I was trying to get was like mega cool, and it's just for fun, although the fluff world of crypto kitties now is quite lucrative. I just keep running out of gas and I had to just give up in the end. So, cryptocurrency, for me, my strategy, it's just a tipple. It's fun. And because my husband is in finance, he doesn't like cryptocurrency at all. He calls it unicorn money. He doesn't believe it. It's not backed by the banks, blah, blah, blah. And I do say to him quite often, you do know that money's not real either, that's just preference, but property, I love property, when Knight, the CEO and co-founder of Relab, approached me and said, hey, do you want to come and work on this cool startup with me, which is Relab, property startup. I'm like, hell yes, because even before Knight mentioned Relab, property is a huge part of my life, and it's super interesting. So there's that side of things too. It's what sets you on fire, and quite often it's like with your career or any of your other passions. If you're passionate about something, you tend to do better at it. Not so much the same with the share market or anything, but certainly if you're passionate about something, you're going to want to learn more about it. You're going to pay more attention to what's going on around you. You're going to pay more attention to what's happening in that particular market. And you generally speaking, in my experience anyway, get better results. You can't stop the market from crashing either in cryptocurrency or in the property market. But certainly if you've got your ear to the ground and it's something you're passionate about and interested in, then you've at least going in with your eyes wide open. And Relab, for me, from a property investment perspective, is huge as well, because Stacey, I think you're going to take us through a couple of the cool wee features that we've got on Relab that can help, property investors. You can do your subdivision calculator. You can look at all of the different stats around properties, and we've got a cool new CMA coming as well. There's a lot that you can do with tools like Relab to help you in that journey, and that's just one more step in getting armored and educated about what you're investing in. So, that's my advice. But, cryptocurrency is definitely more fun, but way more risky.
Yeah. Cool. I'll ask this question from Vic. what risk is there having a wallet online versus a hard wallet? Can you explain what you mean by that as well?
That's basically what it sounds like. So an online wallet is like an online bank account, and then a hard wallet is like physically, owning like an actual, like almost like a hard drive is what they kind of look like, and they both have their own risks. I don't know if you remember last year, someone in New Zealand actually had a hard wallet stolen, and in that hard wallet was like millions of dollars worth of crypto. And that's, if you lose the wallet, you lose it. You can't trace it back online. That's the whole point of it. And then the same with online wallets. The main issue excuse me, that people usually have is they forget their passwords and they forget their codes, and crypto is meant to be completely decentralized, so you can't click forget my password and get back in. And so if you lose your money that way, that's that. So I personally, when we speak about it on the podcast, we tell our listeners, just know yourself. If you are someone that loses things all the time physically, like me, if you can't find your keys, don't get a hard wallet. But if you're not someone that is going to be able to store that password, or you're not as tech savvy, it just doesn't make sense to you, and you prefer a physical wallet, which in some ways is technically more safer, then that's better. So there's no really right or wrong. It's just knowing what you would prefer.
That I would 100% echo. It's what you're comfortable with. Technically speaking, the hard wallets are more secure. But again, if you know that you're going to put it somewhere and forget the code, then you're kind of going to be screwed anyway.
Vic said that person is my neighbour.
Oh, no!
Oh,
It's
wow.
not good.
No. There's one good question here. Looking back to when you started, what do you wish you had done differently or wish you had known back then?
I think for myself, I almost wish I had got started sooner. Like, I do know that, I know I'm only 25, I'm still quite young, but I think with everything, hindsight is 2020, and I had analysis paralysis. The first time I even heard about investing in general was back when I was in university, like at the very start. So I just begun university, someone told me about it, and I was initially like, nope, not for me. I don't have an education in finance. At that stage, I wasn't interested. It's just too hard for me. And I kind of just left it as that. Like, I almost closed myself off from it before I even let that person explain to me what they were going to talk about. And I had just wished that I had at least, tried to allow myself to soak in the information instead of just assuming it was too risky, I wasn't interested. Because knowledge to me is really power, and it's what we speak about on the podcast. We don't tell people buy this or buy that. We just try and explain, like, what even is a stock, what even is a blockchain. And we find that with most people, once you understand what it is, then it's so much easier to go ahead and do it. But if you just don't have the information accessible, of course, it's going to come across as too risky.
That's great advice.
And I think, there's a really great saying in property, and the best time to invest in property is yesterday, and the second best time to invest in property is today. And knowing what I know and having been through, buying and selling properties over the years, that advice is incredibly sage. And the market will dip and it will rise back up again. And it's like any good economist will say, there's always going to be waves. But if you look over the last 60 years of property, there's always a cycle. So look for cycles and look for long-term cycles. Don't look for 18-month cycles, because you're going to see potentially in that 18-month cycle, you might see a major recession or you might see a major growth spurt. Again, I would have invested in property sooner, just because I think investing in property is, it feels like a really big leap, and it feels like something that's super hard and super expensive. But what happened with us is I literally put a picture of a villa a little house on my vision board a couple of years back. It was a little grey and white villa. I don't even know where it was from. I probably found it on Pinterest or something. And every year I do my goals and I literally write them out and I plan and I literally put specifically what I want to achieve. And this year it's a jet ski. And so I know that if I write that down, I am, 450 times more likely to achieve it because it's there. And if I actually put it on a vision board, then I'm even more likely to achieve it. And incidentally, the house that we bought for their investment property is a little grey and white villa, and it couldn't be more identical to that picture that I put up. Now that could be cognitive dissonance, it could be a number of different things, but the point is those bigger investments are a leap, but all again it comes down to planning, and it comes down to knowing what you want and what you're prepared to A, sacrifice, B, risk, and C, just having your list of criteria. Like when we went out to buy an investment property, we literally had 3 different things on that list. Had to be 3-bedroom, had to be central city-ish before renting, and it had to be within a certain budget. And then you know what your criteria are. You're not just going out and fishing in a massive pond and not really knowing what you're doing. And that gives you a greater degree of comfort and reassurance that you're on the right path. It's still really scary. But my biggest piece of advice for anything in life, and whether it comes to creating a side hustle, if you want to create a business on the side, or if you've got a great idea and you think, I'm going to do this as well as my full-time job, or I'm going to create a blog, or I'm going to get into investing in the share market, no matter what it is, it's all about stripping back that fear and making some decisions. Now, if you can make decisions, you can list out your pros and cons and your risks and your rewards, and then you can go and fully educated, like Sim said. I think that's the best bet with any type of investing, and specifically for property investing or cryptocurrency investing. You can have fun doing it too. We've had great tenants in our house. We've been super lucky. Have things gone wrong? 100% things have gone wrong. But same with crypto. It took a big dip last week, which was a bit rubbish. But, I know that my strategy is hold. So I'm okay with that. So I bought some more. So, yeah, property, do it as soon as you can. That's not financial advice. It's just sage advice, and that's advice that I give my kids. My kids are all teenagers, and I don't mind what they do in their life. Like we've got one at university now, one's just about to start uni, and one's still at high school. And I don't mind if they go to uni, if they go into a trade, if they whatever they want to do is totally up to them, and we support them in their goals and in their dreams. But the one thing that we do encourage is making decisions, and whether that decision is to have a gap year and work at Countdown and have some fun with your friends, that's a decision. So advice for the investing market is decision making, and that's all it comes down to. Make a decision, stick with it.
I love that. Okay, cool. I will start to wrap up here because we're a little bit over time. As Lou mentioned before, Relab does have some great features for property investors, and it does look like we have a pretty good audience of property investors on today. So I'd highly recommend checking out a free trial with Relab. I'll put up a link here now. Check that out. We've got some great features such as our subdivision calculator, our new medium density calculator. They're perfect for doing your high level due diligence when you're first starting to look at a certain property, or if you're looking at a few and want to make your decisions. So definitely check that out. And thank you so much for everyone attending today. It's been a great audience, and thank you so much, Sim, for joining us. It's been really great having you on.
Oh, thank you. I could honestly keep talking.
Yeah, thanks, Sim. So if you don't know, Sim's got an amazing podcast with her co-founder. They were recently featured in Vogue. which is absolutely huge. And the story behind that is really touching and heartwarming too. So do go and investigate what that is. And Sim's podcast is actually the #1 podcast across all categories in New Zealand. So she knows her stuff, and if you ever need motivation or the impetus to go ahead and do something and start that side hustle, or do something good for yourself, go and listen to Sim's podcast. It's amazing. So we're really privileged to have you on today. Sim, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great chat, and we could chat for ages about all these cool things. So love to chat again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd absolutely love that. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.